Okay, cool. I won't.
She means it. She wouldn't defy authority, however sweaty and bloated it may look.
There's a mercenary out back. He's been hanged. The body has been there for a week now. The locals probably got tired of it and called the cops.
She speaks matter-of-factly, but there's a sadness in her voice.
You're right. There is nothing funny about civilization.
She hates civilization. She feels betrayed by it.
So, the body is still in the tree.
This is the first time you detect a weariness in the lieutenant's voice. It is obvious he would have preferred for the body to no longer be in the tree. A man in his late 20s with a thin, unimpressive beard notices you approaching. He drops the ledger he was holding and turns to the lieutenant. Could he be irritated with you? He avoids eye contact altogether, like you're not even there. Does he want you to feel guilty of making that hole? It's implied in his voice.
That's enough.
A very silent wave comes from the lieutenant, like the distant echo of a drum roll. It's approval.
No, I'm not the bartender. I'm the cafeteria manager.
He's very animated all of a sudden. This is clearly a touchy subject for him.
That's the name of my employer. I work in logistics.
He doesn't sound too enthusiastic about this.
That's quite all right. I'm used to people asking questions. I know they're thinking about it anyway.
There is no bitterness in her voice. She accepted the curiosity her condition inspires a long time ago.
It has something to do with everything. I really don't know how to explain it better.
I'm just a poor woman, she thinks. What do I know of these things? And how can I help you?
I'm afraid you and I are pawns in a pissing competition.
His disdain is clear. This man would not use such an expression otherwise. Maybe this is why your chest feels so hollow. You did an awful thing, and you can't even bring yourself to acknowledge it. The lieutenant looks at you curiously. A beat passes in silence. The wind blowing, the cargo belt squeaking. The lieutenant doesn't understand what's happening right now. You're twisting at your tie, looking sweaty even by your standards. He needs to say something.
Just something I scraped together from my station. An area report on Martinez. I'm sure you did the same.
He's not actually sure of that. He's just being tactful. Dark brown hair grows on his head. His face is ready to explode from the organic processes inside. The death's head grin has passed. What remains is an unrecognizable mess. Underneath the curdled meat there is an expression, not carried on his features, but below, inside, an expression of pleasure. This man was experiencing joy at the moment of his death.
I have thought of that, yes. But the tire tracks would compromise the scene. Any prints would become illegible. That's if we get it through the hole in the fence. Also, my MC has a sloped roof. It's a sports model. The roof is slippery. An all-around bad platform to stand on.
He could come up with at least 4 more reasons why not to trample on the roof of his sports model motor carriage. He feels bad about his eyes mostly, just having bad eyesight, probably from a young age. Whatever you do, do not console him.
They only have one gun!
Oops.
Why don't you just shoot yourself in your mouth? At least you won't miss.
This isn't mere boundary pushing. There is a true suicidal rage in the kid as she's provoking you.
Or what? You gonna fuck me? you want to fuck me, pig? Is that what this is about?
I'm obliged to inform you that both alcohol and cigarettes damage your health. But I guess you already know that.
Don't ask. Don't look. Don't do anything here. Just go away. Get back to work.
Take what you need, officer. It's going to be a long case. I'm not protective of my tools, like some men are.
He's clearly a little protective of his tools. But what can you do? Work is work.
Yes, sorry about that. The Kupris kinema does have a rather distinctive engine sound.
He says it with very badly concealed pride. Right away, the lieutenant reaches into the cabin and turns off the radio. He's not looking at you as he says,
Someone must have been messing with the radio, or maybe picked up a random frequency. You wanted the prime line, right?
he's still avoiding your gaze and his ears glow red.
Oh, right. Hello, officer. What can I do for you?
You can hear resentment in her tone. She's not thrilled to be talking to you again. No, don't push her. It sounds as if she's about to cry.
The other people who live around here. Local people. I didn't want trouble.
Her voice is resigned and weak.
You don't live here. You don't understand. Squealing is frowned upon here. Everything is dealt with, well, by the Union, internally.
Some poor sod was trying to eat his pudding while you were screaming, spit flying, imitating the mercy shot right next to him. Spat some in his food. I don't think he touched it after.
I do hope so. Please, don't call me again. Bye.
Yes, you have obviously done something to upset her at the Whirling in Rags, when she was still working there.
I'm not mad. It's just... You were so drunk and so emotional all the time, and then the skua thing happened. It just made me want to quit. The stuffed bird, the great skua. You threw it against the wall while screaming, "Fuck that bird," and laughing like a maniac. I think you said it had been giving you shit ever since you got there. Okay, officer. It was a pretty bird, there since I started working in Whirling. I really liked her. We call her Scotty.
There's genuine sadness in her voice.
Wild Pines? You mean the company woman?
Yes, a representative of the harbor. She should have set up operations nearby.
Oh, that must be the woman on the giant boat. There's one docked on the pier. It arrived a couple of weeks ago. It's very hard to miss.
She doesn't like that giant boat, nor does she like the woman on it.
I'm okay with it. Was there something else?
She's not okay with it. It's a display of power, and she feels threatened by it. You don't know why.
I'm working. I have a greenhouse in the yard there. I've been trying to get some work done.
There's discomfort. She stops mid-sentence.
Yeah, imagine. It's been a whole week already.
Behind the laugh, however, a touch of sorrow. There it is again, a little touch of sadness beneath his cool. He thinks he's spent too long in this lorry.
We're pals and all, but I can't just freely hand out the merchandise. The bosses won't be happy.
The man taps his fingers rhythmically against his arm. In his eyes, an unfamiliar longing, flecks of brown and gold.
What's it like? Good. And bad. An ache that brings you joy. I think of them a lot. I dream up these silly scenarios in great detail of living with them. It comforts me. What about you, cop man? You missing someone?
Is that what it is? This feeling? The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calmness. You sense slight embarrassment for the outburst. Or is it pride? Impossible to tell. There, dead man. You were someone's child. It's all over now.
Chest is intact. Normal contour. Abdomen is protuberant. Pelvis intact. Genitalia...
No! Let's get out and see!
I fucking knew it!
This is clearly what they've been waiting for, ever since the autopsy began. The lieutenant is trying to make it as boring as possible.
Genitalia is male and unremarkable. No evidence of injury. Maybe I'm just not seeing them. Honestly, this stench is making it hard for me to think at the moment.
Working so close to the fumes coming from the corpse must be hard. You realize suddenly that the lieutenant has been barely keeping it together these past 2 items.
Ooh. That's all for the external. Well done. What next? So, the scalp bleeds from a post-mortem head injury, a stone. The injury does not have the rim of an early inflammatory response. The perpetrator on the scene has confessed to causing it post-mortem.
At maximum velocity, fucko!
Has confessed to causing it at maximum velocity.
The lieutenant's admission has caused great gratitude in Kuna. He is silent with it. He is deep in thought, eyes fixed on the bright red ring around the dead man's neck.
Now we put him in a body bag and I drive him to Forborg for processing.
The lieutenant looks at the dead man one more time, then at his notebook, then at the corpse again. He's thinking, did I miss something?
Fucking cavity, see?
Quivering with awe.
It's not often that I see officers from the RCM in my pawn shop. What can I do for you?
His courtesy is not insincere, but he prefers being alone with his projector, just watching the movement of light across the walls of the shop.
Oh no, not at all. I guess I haven't had many customers lately, RCM or otherwise. I try to keep the shop at a comfortable temperature.
There's a note of indignation in his voice. Interesting.
There's a reason why everyone's tried to forget any of it ever happened, and why no one has tried to repair or replace the pile. So much disappointment, and early deaths. Cancer mostly. And we knew all that was coming even as we were cleaning up as best we could. No one's. Everyone's.
So much bitterness.
A bunch of poor people built themselves a primitive nuclear reactor, hoping for the best. What do you think is going to happen? You were adamant about getting rid of it, officer. Said you were undeserving of a service weapon of the Revachol Citizens Militia. And I don't like keeping guns around the shop for long. Off-the-charts photon emissions. The unhealthy kind.
He's not telling you the whole story. It seems he's trying to spare you. There's pity there too, in case you didn't notice.
It certainly does, especially in Revachol.
Right, so let me get this right. You sold your sidearm, issued by the Citizens Militia, and now a civilian is running around the streets of Martinez with it?
Miraculously, his face does not reveal what's happening inside.
In that case, she'll be happy to get a visit from us, if we can find her. Yeah, it's not good. I do hope we manage to clean this mess up somehow. while also keeping our focus on the murder investigation.
This mess. He means your mess.
It's the man from Hendal.
Walking away from his burning village. Yes.
Their matter-of-fact tone belies their surprise at the fact that you didn't recognize the figure in the print. The wind is aggressive up here. The lieutenant looks at the enormous crane towering in the distance over the container yard. The look in his eyes is a mix of the engineer-like interest and the wonder of a 6-year-old seeing a horse for the first time.
I was under the impression we are on our way to meet the king of this castle under siege, Evrard, one of the people we are interviewing. This way we may be able to get around his henchmen. Or it could be that we are just exploring.
He's thinking you've forgotten where you are again. It's a black and white photo of a young couple out in a street fair. The man is young, dark-skinned, and dressed in a Royal Carabinieri uniform. The girl is smiling playfully at the camera. The young man looks happy as well. He's about to smile. Right after this moment, frozen in time. You're sure of that.
Why did you take that? Fine, but let's move. I don't want to be seen snooping around here.
Don't get me wrong. They are nice things. But once you achieve a certain level of wealth, your time and mental space become much more important than material goods.
He speaks from the heart. He has very different problems compared to low net worth individuals such as yourself. For example, no problems at all.
Evrard, he looks after everyone. Huh? Well, hey there. How can I help you, mister?
The look in his deep blue eyes is as sincere as you've ever seen. Kind of makes you feel like an arsehole for no apparent reason.
I see you are not a union man, mister. Did you get lost? You're not one of them scabs, are you? But she's a real nice girl. Grew up in this here neighborhood. Knows everybody and gets along with everyone. Real pillar of the community one day, I'm sure.
For a fraction of a second, there's sadness in his eyes.
If me missus and me was to have a child, I'd be real happy if she turned out like her. But she can't have kids.
Yes, this place really seems to run like clockwork. Keep it up, Leo.
Well, thanks a lot. Coming from you, it means a lot, really. Sometimes I feel some of the guys don't really get how much I bust my ass for them here. But you guys are alright.
The white rectangle on your clothes might not mean an awful lot in Martinez, but the recognition from an authority figure made Leo's day.
Claire also helped you, how should I say, remember your name? That's a relief. You can look into the process of changing your name after we finish this investigation.
Kim must have had doubts about his name at some point too, but deliberately discarded them.
Change? No, not exactly. But I think all of us at some point imagined what our lives might have been had we been something else. And then we feel trapped by the names we've been given as symbols of the intentions and expectations of others. Even if I were to change my name now, upon hearing any syllable that sounds like Kim in the street, I turn to see who was calling me. The moral intern are a fact. I try not to have opinions on facts until they change. And it doesn't look like that's about to happen.
It is more than that. There's some kind of affection in him.
Yes, I did, when I was younger. In my 20s, I considered myself a moralist. A blue forget-me-not, a piece of the sky. They're not all that bad.
See? The corpse doesn't care if you try to take his boots. He doesn't need them. He's probably glad to get rid of them. It's heavier than you'd think. You're forced to drop it back down immediately. The corpse lands on the ground with a nauseating thud, looking even sadder than before.
Yeah? Think about it. Think about that rabid Kuno shit.
He seems glad someone understood what he was going for. But right as he's getting distracted, You hear a malevolent hiss from behind the fence.
You're dreaming, pig. That's not how this shit works.
A little, but don't expect anything to change.
Don't let him dominate you, Kuno. Fuck his fat ass.
It's not Kuno. It's Kuno S. Kuno S is by far the worst of the two. Kuno has no problem being near you, but the other hides behind the fence, afraid for her life, like she's done something very bad. She came up with that psychopathic scheme of screaming for help before. Kuno just wanted to talk to you about his name. Kuno S was the one who wound him up and directed him. All in all, Kuno respects madness. You cannot hope to outdo her on that front. You must win yourself a few minutes with him alone.
Fuck you whispering about?
He's whispering too. He's going with it. But watch what happens.
Fuck you whispering about.
She puts extra stress onto that word, expecting it will make you uncomfortable.
If Kuno wants to whisper, he's gonna fucking whisper, okay? Let's whisper, pig.
This is it. You've got him. But be careful. You can still fuck this up. Don't make Kuno look bad in this.
Crazy? You don't know the half of it. She's not crazy. She's insane. Dangerous. She's smoked a man. She's done people in. Probably even pigs.
Stop talking to him. Kuno, I'm fucking warning you. You're gonna get us into shit.
She understands what you're trying to do.
Yo, see? Did Kuno not tell you? Kuno told you. Kuno talks to whoever he wants. Talk, pig. Kuno's got it under control.
You did it. They're separated. He's even turned his back to her so she can't read his lips.
How's Kuno dealing? Kuno's dealing just fine. He doesn't need you fucking with any of it. C doesn't either. Kuno's got this shit under control. Listen. C is Kuno's go-to. Kuno's protecting her. You fuck with C. You fuck with Kuno. You threaten her. You threaten to take her away.
This is what it all comes down to. He needs you to take him seriously now.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief even. The lieutenant is hatching some scheme.
Why, yes I am. Of course there are. We're on an archipelago. How else are you supposed to get around?
There is a pinch of defensiveness in her voice, but it is playful. The woman, born in the year 3 in the commune of Rivershaw, smiles at you, face adorned with frown lines and crow's feet. The photo is recent. The name reads, Rejoice Leighton Messier.
Yes, but please don't call me that. Joyce is much more efficient.
She doesn't like it. Probably a bad memory. Mean girls at school or some ancient lover.
Quite a few things, I'm afraid.
Worry lines crease her forehead, but it's more than worry. In her eyes, a hint of, is that guilt?
The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57. And this is my colleague from Precinct 41, Detective Dubois. I'm afraid Harry doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
Oh, and what happened to yours, Detective?
Awkwardness washes over the conversation. The woman doesn't like this turn of events.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective. Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance and, not volunteer us to be her henchmen. This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
He doesn't let it show, but there is a limit to how much the consequences of your unprofessional behavior can cost the investigation.
I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders.
A brief spike of longing in her upright body. The dots under her eyelids shake.
Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head.
She's not gloating. It's a relieved celebration.
The Coalition of Nations, Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-le-Clay, the armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. It was the moralist thing to do.
There is bitterness in her voice, tempered with understanding. She is critical, but ultimately understands the cause.
The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. They believe in mineral rights, and not shooting people in the head.
From the looks of it, the 50s haven't been much better for the zone of control. You can see it in her eyes. Days slipping away.
I've no right to be dissatisfied. This shirt is Barbara Muscova, this raincoat is impervious to rain and is guaranteed for 100 years. My daughters will wear it. No, it's just... we could have had so much more. Every one of us. If only we'd played it right. I can see you thought we'd gone extinct. After all, no sane person identifies as an ultra-liberal anymore. Not in broad daylight. You're a man of the left, no? Tell me, now that I've uncoiled myself, are you repulsed?
In her green eyes, you see a mixture of truth and self-satire. Decades of guilt and pride.
I don't know about things of that scale. My expertise lies in nations and trade routes, one or several layers below everything. But yes, we'll be fine. Don't worry.
She does not seem convinced that you'll be fine. If anything, she's realizing how deep your condition runs. What's this? We're getting reports of normal, reasonable, temperate political opinions somewhere in Martinez. Of course, a radical centrist. In these bright and loud times where 1,000 frequencies drown one another out, sober thinking is a radical act. It's time to become a citizen of the kingdom of conscience. It is not a place. It is a moment in time that can only arise in the right circumstances. In all of human history, it's only been achieved a handful of times. Incrementally. Yawn, you'd get there faster with a little speed. Speaking of, when are you going to get on that, bub? History's greatest catastrophes have been brought about by people trying to make the world a better place. Too quickly. That's the genius of Dolores Day. She recognized that progress is meaningless if its gains are lost because of instability. Real, lasting change can only come about gradually, increment by increment. Tisk tisk, just because you live in the present doesn't mean you have the right to place your needs above the needs of the future. You may never live to see the kingdom of conscience. Your children may not. Even your grandchildren might not. But that's no excuse not to keep working. What rationality? What sang-froid? What benevolence? What a fucking joke. Do you believe the status quo is preferable to chaos and bloodshed? There you have it. Sometimes holding the line is progress. The kingdom is difficult to comprehend and even more difficult to describe. Partly because humanity will need to discard many of the categories that define and limit it today. The kingdom of conscience is post-capitalist, post-national. It's also post-industrial, post-ideological, and even post-sexual. Slow down, Mr. Reasonable. Did you miss the part about compromising and taking things slow? That's right. Remember, real democracy is just around the corner for Revachol. When that real democracy kicks in, a long time from now, we are all going to be so much happier.
And I really need to finish this cigarette.
But he hasn't left yet.
I'm fine. Fine. Don't you worry about me.
You're still worried. It's very worrying.
Now, what do you want from me, policeman?
It didn't get physical. She heard something she doesn't want to hear again.
We saw unpaid utility bills. Aren't they going to be evicted?
No one likes them in this building. It's only because of the kids they haven't been thrown out. I don't like talking about those people.
She mumbles some kind of a response, then hacks something into her handkerchief. Her voice is really cheerful, despite her obviously hating you.
Do you want to see my ID as well? You can't legally ask for it, but why not? Want to see my residence permit too?
Oh, it irks her. The incompetence.
Well, it does not disappear from my hands. No, I don't let it.
I'm signaling that the store is open. Otherwise, people might not know. They'd miss out on the crime, romance, and biographies of famous people.
A sudden gush of wind turns the pages of the books on the counters. She covers her face, smiling. But she's cold.
Kind of you to offer, sir.
What could you do to help her anyway?
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to help Mum out with the store.
She looks at Dick Mullen, frowning. Dark, arrogant, violent, likely overcompensating for something. She knows where this is going. She looks around anxiously. Her hands remain folded in front of her. She doesn't want to show them. The lieutenant stands by, looking at the two of you with little interest. A facade of true professionalism. He is far more intrigued by the situation than his poise reveals. Doesn't feel like it's thriving. Feels ghostly.
Annette, yes, my daughter. I hope she wasn't slacking off again with her nose in science fiction. Tell me, was she at her post doing her job like a proper girl? Wonderful. Did you talk to her? Great. On a scale of 1 to 10, how compelled were you to buy books after talking with her?
Her opinion of her daughter depends on how well she lured you into the store.
My precious, her dedication brings joy to my heart. If you have children, I hope they turn out as great as my Annette. There. I don't know what to say to you. My husband, he tries to teach me business lessons. I have what my mother called a dull mind. All this stress.
It sounds like both the husband and the mother treat her the way she treats Annette.
Oh, well, my mother was horrible, of course. Absolutely perverse energies around that person. But my husband...
My husband is completely different, of course.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't talk right now. I'm very busy with my homework. I have so much homework now.
You just can't win. You can on Caillou, Revachol, a single black star on Ozone, Fondelaire, and Vimandu on archipelagos, Croyan Moran, Villiers, on Semenine, Olduvai, and on Laurentide, Deora of the Seven Seas. Lost little pearls of light, tiny fires in the dark.
Do I have a shaker in my hand? Is this a shaker?
He sounds irritated.
Yes, the bird. I found it lying on the floor with a broken wing the morning she left.
You broke the skewer!
I assure you it was him.
It's as if he can't decide whether to be angry or relieved that it was you, again. The lieutenant averts his eyes as you crawl into the trash container. His gaze is focused on something nebulous in the far distance, on nothing in particular. With effort, he looks at you. Whatever he may feel in this moment is locked away deep inside him.
Good night, detective.
Are you not afraid it'll kill him?
No, nameless detective of the Citizens Militia. I am a member of the Entreprenetic Business Class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of Pale Transit annually.
Perhaps that explains her strange pining after the revolution. Some degraded early memories.
Steel yourself, officer. Your colleague, Lieutenant Kitsuragi, he is competent. I checked up on him. And you also have me. I will try to assist you in any way I can.
Some of that assurance is meant for herself, as much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot on the line here.
Even if we have to do it one basic term at a time.
Every cell in your body is moaning in agony, asking, what did we ever do to you?
Have you tried concentrating on something other than your personal affairs?
There is a sudden, harsh edge to his voice, like he's tired of hearing about your personal affairs.
Okay, I admit to it. The revolution employed a more forward-looking 8-rotor design. Their blades were foldable and their pilots were better trained and motivated. I say this from a purely tactical standpoint, of course.
It is not from a purely tactical standpoint. We are not ruling out that the lieutenant had a little rebel phase in that past of his. He's glad to have shut down your question.
I can't say that it does, no. When I need to think, I just use my notebook.
The lieutenant produces his familiar mnemotechnique A6 and idly thumbs through a few pages. That's where his conversations with himself take place.
Just some regular boring motherfuckers in suits and uniforms. Nothing spectacularly extravagant like you, the far-out son of Lang. Oh, it's you, you eccentric genius. I mean, with your unorthodox approach to police work, it has to be you. Not even a little bit.
It's an urban myth about an officer who is so far undercover he can't remember who he is. As I said, just an urban myth. You are not the son of Lang.
He's trying to protect you from further rough handling, dished out by this sunglassed man.
Neither can I, partner. Neither can I.
It's a mere second, but it feels like you saw something. A gram of compassion in that sadness.
No, you haven't wronged me. It's okay.
Something changes in her. It's pity. Pity comes over her.
I'm just looking out for...
You?
Please don't trouble yourself about me, sweetie. I was just hoping to make a call, but the Whirling's phone line isn't working.
A faint smile tells you she appreciates the effort, but at the moment her mind is on more serious matters. She's completely internalized her husband's struggles. They are her own. It's always a challenge to describe the person you know best in the world.
Exactly. And these tests were performed so recklessly that when they happened upon the right frequency, well, they wiped out most of the population.
Great regret washes over her, a winding cloth.
7.2. Supercharged.
Saying these words brings him immense joy. There's respect in that curious look. Definitely.
Looks like it, yes. We should probably go tell Lena. Take a load off her mind.
She was quite worried. A banged-up motor carriage lies half submerged in the icy water, slowly sinking into the Insulindian Ocean. Only the cabin top, rear wheels, and the engine remain visible. It must be cold and lonely down there, in the icy water.
No, I've been putting up with you because despite an unconventional approach, you are doing good police work. It matters more than driving your motor carriage into the sea. And now we've even found your badge.
He trusts you, for now. Try not to spoil it.
Me? No one. I'm just a working class woman.
She doesn't really want to be disturbed that much.
Why are we still talking about this? I haven't lost my husband.
She has, though. The husband is totally lost. You should tell her that it's okay.
What? What? That's just... My daughters are perfectly fine. They're with their friends down in Shamrock. There's nothing to worry about.
She's getting upset. Her voice has risen as she tries to convince herself that her daughters are safe.
Excuse me? I don't know. The most talkative one? The what now? No, you're not. Don't think that way. You're just a regular talkative cockatoo. And let's leave it at that, okay?
She doesn't want you to be the fuck-upper too. But he is missing. You heard her. The worry in her voice.
God damn it, I already told you. My husband isn't missing. And I specifically added that I didn't need to know where he was. Very well then. Where is he? Excuse me? I don't follow.
There's something else hiding in her voice, though. A trace of worry.
I did, and he is. He's also an alcoholic. No, he's not. Or maybe he is, I don't know. He's probably in the park or in Shamrock somewhere, drinking with his friends. I haven't seen him for... Well, to hell with him.
There. She's worried now.
I even tried throwing it away once, but he just dug it out of the bin. Can you believe it? Well, what can you do? I hope that at least that extra lining helps him keep warm at night. I wouldn't like him to catch cold.
She's thinking about him out in the cold, in some park, or on the coast. And it's making her more and more worried. He was confused when he died. Confused and alone, most likely. Overcome with the awful surprise of it all.
Yes, this is Central Jamrock Public Library here. How can I help you, officer?
He sounds worried, yet ready to assist. This is how people get when the police call.
Marie knows Billy. She's been working here longer than me. Sometimes her husband returns some books for her.
And then goes for a little drink later, on the lookout.
Dad, just don't say that you know how they feel. You don't.
Good advice. There's fear in her voice. He must feel vulnerable without his glasses. Is this why he's letting you take the lead?
Just to return a book of mine? Why? Why all those questions, Detective? Did he...
Do something? Break something? It's a fool's hope.
It's just your average brown leather jacket, but he bought it as a teenager, so...
It reminded him of his teenage years. You've done this before. Just keep your focus. Yes, that's the most important thing. use that word.
Oh, but he was just...
But he was just here, alive.
I see. And you just found him there, lying in the cold. How long had he been there?
If you say 2 days maybe, it will be etched in her mind forever.
Should I call them? Should I tell them to come home?
No, a day.
We won't be killing anyone. And you shouldn't say things like that. You're a police officer. There's been enough killing. I've seen it.
She's seen it and known those who have been killed.
We rarely see pigs round here, though. Just union cats. And my name's not Mona, so...
She wants it to be something true and total. You've lessened her desire to deface the building.
What did you think I was using? Aquarels? Sucked it out of a cop's fuel tank myself. Back in Jamrock.
She really did it. She's proud of it too.
Does anyone in a city like this?
If there's pain about any particular home she's lost, she's buried it deep, fortified herself against it. Damn me and my affinity to farm animals, she's probably thinking. She hopes the information is useless.
Hey, let's keep moving, detective.
Somehow, he doesn't want to dwell on it.
Or send them to Reunion to rot. For 20 years. For life. Oh, so you are just a simple, well-meaning man, eh? Ever been in solitary? Prison is a charter. That's what it is.
He's clearly been in solitary confinement, and at a young age, nonetheless.
A live grenade, right here in our bar.
This one has a special gripe with him coming here. He regrets mentioning it. Hopes you didn't notice.
And fuck you, too, copper. Picking on Angus like this. We're done with this schoolyard shit. And just so you know, he doesn't have trouble breathing.
His all-muscle comment wasn't sarcastic. He's genuinely trying to look out for Angus. They're only pretending to enjoy this. Beneath the act, they don't like you knowing this.
Relationship? There was no fucking relationship. He raped her. That's their relationship.
Something is off here. His anger is possessive.
3 weeks maximum from the dust coverage. It could easily have been 1 week too. You know, officer.
This is good. He likes it. That's a little smile there, in the dark of the workshop. That must be her tell, the cigarette. It hurts her to look directly at the corpse, so she reverts her gaze to you.
I'm Kim Kitsuragi. I'm a detective from Precinct 57. I see you've already met my colleague.
This does not come as good news to him.
What's so bad about that?
Nothing, if you're no longer there.
The conference centers are filled with people who get angry at you if you do something wrong.
That's just a phase the Revacholian hero goes through before they plunge into full-core humanity and world-saving.
She seems quite relaxed for a victim of assault. But, of course, what seems should not be your priority.
Cool. I've made more money by just being than I have with Rani's lit. Many things. A roller skating instructor, a secretary, Miss Ranier 37.
It's the world's most tired smile.
Yes. And for that, I got a crown and a sash and a scepter. And a scholarship to study Rani's lit. Indeed.
Her voice is indifferent to the number.
I would love to change the subject. It's not important. Unless I'm some kind of suspect. Phew.
playfully. She doesn't seem to be overly distressed, or distressed at all, really.
A peephole? You mean like a hole in the wall?
Yes, looking into your bedroom, miss.
Okay.
A jitter of fear and disgust moves through her body, beginning from her shoulders and ending in her hips. The cigarette tastes foul to her now.
Mm-hmm.
She's lost in thought, eyes narrowed, forehead furrowed.
Something difficult? I've been through at least half a dozen difficult things. Which one do you mean? By sexually assaulted, you mean raped?
Yes.
It's a bit early in the morning for raped, isn't it?
She sounds positively buoyant, vivacious, totally unbothered.
Is it? Let me make this 100% clear then, officer. I was not sexually assaulted. Would I be this flippant if I had been?
You get the feeling she might be. With longing, she misses him.
I made it. And I would appreciate it if you didn't tell everyone. In Martinez, they call it snitching.
Reporting crimes is confidential in Revachol, miss.
Because I couldn't handle it anymore. None of these people called. He just kept hanging there. Then they started stripping him.
Tearing off his armor, demeaning him, throwing rocks at him.
I think we've got a few more questions for class here, don't you? This seems to contradict her testimony, at least to some degree.
As you take out the tape, the boombox tunes itself back to the cheery radio again, spewing out beats like it's a Friday night. The contrast feels chilly, inappropriate even. This toothbrush belongs to someone who doesn't give a damn about her teeth.
Officer, what brings you up here in the rain?
This does not surprise her.
Running joke. I was gonna say running joke. And it sounds like you didn't even get the good bits. Lely's punchlines got way, way funkier than that. He was like the Seminese conflict, the Kohoi massacre, and the 36 famine in Yezud all rolled into one person, then cast in Orani ceramic armor, which he wore in bed and in the shower.
When he said he was done, and done mentally, it didn't sound like a joke. It sounded like a deeply troubled man.
He was 42.
42? Are you sure? I would have had him above 50.
He had many scars that made him appear older. But no. We even celebrated his birthday, like, some weeks ago. It was a funny 2 days. He had little reason to lie to me.
Right again, officer.
This feels so just, like there is righteousness in the world. Her light brown eyes fix on yours, then disappear behind her bangs as she drops her chin. She agrees.
Huh? How old? 58? He was deceased. He had been decomposing for a week. On the bright side, you've been getting a lot of exercise lately.
There's silence. Then a little more. Here it comes. Mercy.
Sure, you're 42. Let's go?
I already told you. We fucking hanged him.
There's less gusto in his voice now. His men too are growing increasingly silent.
Cop, I have no idea. The girl says she didn't.
He doesn't think she did. Or at least he hopes she didn't.
It's always good to see you.
Something in her demeanor has changed. She's tired, consigned to her fate, to being here with you and what's to come. The conference centers, the people who are angry at her, her past.
You share a database with them. You send people to their courts. The job was Lou's doing County Savings Bank. They sound small, but they're part of the Lou Scott conglomerate. That was the second job. The first was some printer company. You wouldn't know them.
But she really destroyed them. She still feels it.
A lot of people got hurt. But that's just more of my shit you shouldn't have to deal with. You're solving a murder.
That can wait. Look into her eyes. There's more. Out of guilt.
I knew he was dead. Before he fell down on top of me.
You were right. He did enjoy the moment of his death.
He was still on the floor, slouched. I couldn't be there with him anymore. So I ran down and out of my room, into the hallway, down the stairs. I knew there would be people there.
Run, woman. Run past them and out into the streets where it's dark and people move. To the lorries at the intersection, as far as you can. You sense a little hesitation there, or maybe even fear. The stress was on the wrong syllable.
Why would they do that?
I didn't show up to a rendezvous. They don't take that lightly. I didn't show up because I was afraid they'd do something to me. The job was finished. I'm just a liability now.
She fears an arrest right here and now. This has been an awful turn of events for her. She's silent for a second, as if looking into herself for certainty. Then, in a hushed voice, she says, gearing up for this betrayal is hard for her.
Ruby, everything could change. This city, the extradition rules, the people after me could be in jail. Or maybe Revachol.
There is desperation there, in that silence. A cornered animal looking for a way out.
Yeah? Kuno's dad is fucking nothing. Fucking coma shit, stroke shit. Kuno's dad is so fucking violent. He's had a stroke many times. Shit. Kuno's gonna have one too. Gonna be just like Kuno's dad. Speed shit, crime shit, fucking on the bed. Kuno's gonna go out like Kuno's dad. Revachol West style.
Stop saying all this sad shit, Kuno.
There's a touch of grief in there. For the greater good.